you guys. Welcome back to the I Did It First podcast. I'm Riley.
I'm Anna.
And we are getting into today's topic right away because it is long and it will be 2 episodes. And it's something that a lot of athletes have experienced.
Yes.
And that is trauma that comes from a horrible coach, to put it very lightly. And we decided that we wanted to take this to the microphones and on the podcast because after watching Call Her Alex Cooper's documentary where she highlighted how her soccer college coach was sexually harassing her and harassing her in general, we were like, oh my gosh, now is
perfect time to
literally
talk about it. And it was one thing I noticed when she talked about it, and I don't know if you picked up on, because I start to replay so many things as well that happened during that time, is even the littlest moments that seem like we talk about, like you may seem like you're gaslighting yourself. Was it that big of a deal?
Yeah.
But the way she kind of compiled all of these moments and us watching it, it's funny. In the moment, she probably thought, is this a big deal? Is it not? And then as we were watching it, you know, we're kind of like, no, that definitely is. It's easy to validate someone when you're hearing about it, which is also kind of nuts to me.
And that's something that we will get to is as the stuff that I was experiencing started to happen, at the very beginning, it could have been blown off as minor stuff, but, and I will highlight this throughout, like your intuition in your gut, if you feel like something's wrong, it's wrong. Like you don't have to, especially when it is so clear as day wrong. And that is something that I tried to downplay for a really long time. So that is what we are talking about.
Yes.
And growing up, I tried every sport.
Every sport. Now, keep in mind, Riley was like 3 feet tall at 2 years old. So I knew that it was going to be like a Great Dane puppy or, you know, just trying to get your coordination together. And so we tried everything. We started with ballet. And I don't know if it's every mom that wants to put their girl in ballet or naturally every girl wants to be in a tutu and go for it. But we started with ballet.
Yeah.
You were adorable. You did look like Buddy the Elf in that group because it was just
like,
one of these is not like the other. But you were so motivated. Like for someone who didn't even want their hair brushed, you were ready, sitting for your little bun. It was all the things. And I thought, you know, we were doing actually pretty well with that. We had our routine about Saturdays, our donuts and our practice, and you were great. Well, until your first recital. And that's when I realized Riley was going to focus on a solo career.
Yeah, I was taking this.
I wish we had clips of that, and I'll have to try and find it. But basically, there was an amazing little routine with all these little girls. You were at Cal State Long Beach, so it was a big stage. Yeah. And Riley decides to do a solo act, like completely on her own. No one even knew what was going on. So dance was off the table.
Yeah. After that, a couple years later, I did cheerleading and soccer around the same time. And that is like soccer, AYSO soccer, I feel like is a fundamental part of everyone's childhood.
It's a rite of passage, I think, for so many kids.
And I remember one time I scored a goal on our own goal.
You were very excited though.
And I remember crying and running off the field. Soccer was not for me.
No. And then there was another time where we came looking for you and you were talking and you were actually picking like tiny little calla lily or like those little daisies out of the ground. And we're like, what are you doing? And we just hear you talk to the other teammate from the other team. And you're just like, I like your scrunchie. And we're like, okay, this sport is this is not happening.
A girl's girl.
Yeah, this is not happening. It's way too slow.
Cheerleading, like same thing. I just wanted a cute uniform.
Like $150 later, she just had to have the tearaway pants, like those Adidas pants.
Yeah, but they weren't Adidas.
Actually picked up your package and said, I want to quit. You just I remember we're in it for the pants.
And that is a lot of everything. I just wanted the cute outfit. And I remember my parents would try and make me wear these pants after because they're like, we paid money, you're wearing these pants. And the shit of it is they were so uncomfortable. I didn't want to wear them. I was like, cheerleading's not for me. Psych.
I knew it wasn't for you, but
I mean, every sport, flag football.
Flag football was one of my favorites. So flag football, part of the YMCA. It seems pretty wholesome and
Mhm.
sweet. That was an abrupt ending to that trial as we were escorted off the field.
Uh-huh.
Riley turned into the water boy and somehow tackled some poor, just unsuspecting child.
Yeah.
They didn't even take your flags off. They didn't even let us finish the game. They stopped the game, escorted us to the car, and we were not welcome back.
I have no recollection of this. The only memory I have with flag football is going to pick up team pictures from the coach's house.
You were
I
not
wasn't,
allowed out of the car.
yeah, I wasn't allowed out of the car. They had a daughter that was around the same age that when we would practice flag football, she would hang out. I remember I wanted to go say hi, and they were like, no. Don't I have no memory of tackling a little kid,
No.
but I do remember my flag football career ended very
Yes.
abruptly. That though motivated my career for
You chose violence
water
that day.
polo.
Yep.
And I think that's where everyone was kind of like, wait, what are we doing? Like, let's put
Yes.
her in water.
Yes, you were always a great swimmer.
Mhm.
So, by 2, you were swimming like the length of the pool. And I
Yeah.
had always loved water polo. I saw it in high school
Yeah.
and I was like, that's a badass sport. Whatever kid I have, they're going to play. I don't even care because say what you want about a guy in a Speedo, like take on a water polo player. So
yeah,
I was
good
like,
luck.
you're like, okay, but me? I was like, yeah, you got this.
I was like, okay, this is happening. I started playing water polo around the age of 10 and 11. I was like end of 5th grade going into middle school.
It was a good fit right off the
Yeah.
bat.
And while I was playing in middle school, I was playing for a club team,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved my club team. The only downside is I wouldn't even say it was a
No.
downside because it made me such a better athlete.
I
But
think so too.
they did not have a girls team. So I was playing and practicing with all boys. I was the only girl on this club team, but they were recognized across the country for their like training. The coaches love water polo. That
They're
was their whole life.
Eastern European
Yeah.
coaches who all started playing. They traveled out of the country at like 15 to play for other countries, and
Yeah.
it was pretty intense.
And water polo soon became my life. Like all I was doing was playing water polo. I was so obsessed with this sport. I had finally found like my fit, and I remember just feeling so out of touch like in other sports where everyone else was like doing gymnastics. We tried
Yeah.
that
Oh, gosh,
I
that's
mean
right.
literally everything. Everyone like had a sport that they had committed to, and I was just like I like nothing is fitting until water polo. And while I was playing with these boys, the coaches were like, she is more than welcome to play. She's more than welcome to practice, but we're not going to change the way that we train or play or
Because you're
anything
there.
because she's a girl. Like, she can
And that
step
didn't
up.
bother you.
No, I loved it. Also, too, because there was something in my brain, like, I have something to prove.
I think that's so
So,
many female athletes in general,
I
but
agree.
in this atmosphere even more so.
And you know what is crazy? I think that was that like shaped who I am, obviously, as a
100%.
person. Like, I take no shit from anybody because imagine like being the only girl, first of all, on a pool deck in a bathing suit. Like, you're already vulnerable, and then you have like little shits
Yeah.
saying stupid stuff to you all the time, and I would just like dish it back, and you learn to.
Yeah. Well, and the beauty I think of starting at that age is
Yeah.
that your body awareness, just be honest, isn't like there yet. And so you
Yeah.
kind of don't care. You just want to play. You just want to have fun. Like even at that age, you want to be in the water all the time.
Yeah.
Like you had water polo, but any kid, like if someone has a pool, like that's all I want to go swim, you know?
Yeah.
And then this happened at the same time as junior lifeguards. So I felt like you bridged so many relationships because you were playing with them on a team. Then you're on the same
Yeah.
group in lifeguards. So there was this constant, like, all you were doing, or honestly, was working on relationships
Yeah. I mean, and it was all
and like
all,
building bonds. Yeah.
And all of the people that I was friends with at this time, we were all doing the same
Yeah.
stuff. So I played throughout middle school, and it wasn't until I started playing in high school that I started playing with girls for the first time. And honestly, I was never worried playing with girls because the truth is, like, I'd been practicing and playing with boys for years now, and boys naturally are just stronger and more aggressive. So I was like, I can keep up with the boys. I'm going to be okay with the girls. The only thing is, girls are
Different.
different.
Well, and I think going into high school, you were even more like, I feel like a lot of kids would be nervous even in their sport.
Yeah.
But like you were more excited because in middle school, remember, like your homeroom, 2 different homeroom teachers,
Yes.
like they had water. You're already getting like the
Privilege.
like elite
Yeah.
athlete
I would
privilege.
get out of
So
the
you're like, oh
mile.
yeah, this is gonna be so like this is gonna be
I
amazing.
would get out of so much stuff in
They're
middle
like, oh wait,
school.
you had a tournament this weekend.
Like,
Don't
just
worry,
sit
your
this one
homework's
out.
not.
Yeah.
And like you were already riding really high. You're like, wow, high school's
I'm
gonna be
like-
fucking amazing.
And honestly, my freshman year was like,
Mhm.
I went into high school. I had a bunch of friends. I had a lot of, this isn't even to sound pick me, and I know it does, but like a lot of the older guys from the club team, like were
But you'd
looking
known them
at
now
like
for years.
exactly. And I felt very confident going into high school. I loved school. I loved my sport, and I knew I was good at it. And there was like no part of myself that I questioned, which
No, it's
crazy.
awesome. Like that. That
and I'm so grateful for that.
like,
Yeah.
it was. I mean, it's key.
Yeah.
High school's terrifying.
Yeah.
To have that piece going into high school is such a gift.
So my freshman year, I started playing JV water polo, and I was on the girls team, like playing and starting every game, and I was obsessed. Like I loved, and it's because this isn't to like, oh, I'm so good, but I was killing it, and
You were.
that's such a good feeling. It's like I always joke, like you love running when you're good at it, or like
Of course,
you're
that's
fine doing
anything.
math when you know what's going, like you
Yeah,
know, like
yeah.
it just feels good. And naturally, when I was playing and practicing with these girls all day every day, I started to get super close to these girls, and also the older girls, because during my freshman year I was getting pulled up to varsity to practice and like sit on games and play
Yes.
games. And when you are spending, like I said, hours and hours on a pool deck, whether you want to or not, you're going to get close with
Yes.
the people around
Regardless.
you. And that
And-
happened very quick. I mean, we're
Yes.
all struggling the same way. Like we're dying in the swim sets, and we're dealing with the same stuff at school. Like it's all relative, and you're surrounded by very like-minded people.
Yeah.
It was also my freshman year that, and this is what I mean when I was ignoring like small stuff at the beginning, and the older girls, while I was a freshman, like I remember juniors and seniors, and I remember this so vividly, telling me like, oh, I'm going to the head coach's house, and I was like, wait, pause. And I was like, is this weird, or am I like, I've never played with girls before, is this normal? That was a lot of my freshman year. I was questioning it like that. Like, I don't know if I should like be tuning my horn and
Right.
calling this out, but also I'm like, I'm new here. I
Yeah.
don't really know.
I was going to say, and part of that too, so you were playing at the other club, and it's
Yeah.
part of the high school team. And this is most high schools, they have a different club team.
Yes.
And you kind of, it's an unspoken rule, right? You have to play for that high school club team to
team.
earn your time on the high school
Field.
team.
Yeah.
And so they didn't have one because they didn't have enough girls. So you guys kind of ended up joining that team.
Yes.
So also that's I think part of the reason why, if I remember, because we were having to go through this, because
I
it's
know.
amazing how your mind
Protects you.
protects you,
Yeah.
and like the way that we've blacked out so much of this stuff
I
is
know.
wild.
I know.
So piecing it together, and you were playing with them a lot more, and that's also how you. I mean, they were seniors, so like
Well, I didn't have a car too, so like after practice,
naturally
they're
you
like, oh, let
hang
me
out with
take
them
you
a lot.
home. Or
Mhm.
I mean, there were younger girls who had older sisters, and like we would hang out and have sleepovers, and I mean, like we were going to get food after practice.
Yeah.
Like that's very normal. And as I started to get closer to these girls, they would tell me more stuff. I mean, it got to the point where like we were hosting homecoming parties. We would go to like the taco truck
Yes.
after
Oh my
school
gosh, I
all of the
forgot.
time. There was a taco truck that had, this is also such like, it's crazy how it feels like I don't even know, like 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And then some stuff I can't, I'm like, what?
Even reading. So we had so much documented and pictures and note, like there was so much
Yeah.
that even reading through some of this to kind of prepare for our discussion,
Yeah.
I was in shock about what we
So
forgot
much.
and like so much that happened.
Yeah. And I also want to like, I've already started talking obviously, but as we continue, I
Mhm.
know there's stuff as we go back to even listen to this being like, oh
We're
my
gonna
gosh,
remember.
we should have. Yes.
Yes.
Freshman year, amazing. No notes. I would do freshman year over again. It was very fun. It wasn't.
The JV coach you had, and this is why I will say this even now, and I'll probably repeat myself. I think a coach can impact a child's life so
Oh my
significantly.
gosh.
Like everyone has a favorite teacher they had in high school, and you'll recall or look back or tell stories. But I would venture to say that a coach can impact a child's
More.
life way more. I mean,
Way more. You're spending so much more time with them.
so much more time. I mean, you're
And
spending more time with them than us at this point
and at
on
this
the daily.
age, kids are so impressionable. Like I remember back when I was even a junior garden instructor, I was so like meticulous with every little word I
Mhm.
said because I'm like, I will not remember anything I'm telling these kids, but they will remember shit
They
I'm saying
will.
for years, the way that I remember stuff that older people told me when I was younger.
Yep.
Like that is where coaches are in such a powerful position to change lives, like
Huge.
for the good or the bad. And
They have a huge responsibility.
unfortunately, like I know more people that have had experiences like this with coaches than not.
That's awful.
Horrible. So the summer going into my sophomore year is when everything.
Wait, pause. Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Something happened with that girl in the group talking about
What?
how cute he was.
Well, that's coming up.
Oh.
Don't interrupt.
Sorry, guys.
The summer going into my sophomore year is like when everything started to go down. And just like every other sport, we had a summer camp where it's like couple weeks. You're
Very
practicing.
intensive.
Yeah, you're practicing like all day, every day. And that is very typical. And that is when I was like playing with varsity more, practicing with varsity more. And the head coach, he would always, this is what I also thought was very weird. He would start dating these girls for like 4 minutes and bring them around us and then like try and implement them in the program in any way he could. Like I remember him trying to hire one of his girlfriends as a coach who knew nothing about water polo, and everyone was kind of just like, what? Like, but still no one really said anything. So, but it was this summer that he started dating this like freshly turned 18-year-old who was, and mind you, he was in his like 30s, mid to late 30s.
Yeah.
And he started dating this very young girl who was a quote unquote like yoga teacher. And I like say that very loosely because I feel like it's disrespectful to the yoga community because and I'll get there. But he starts dating this yoga girl, brings her around during summer camp, and then on top of the what we already paid for summer camp, he's like, you need to pay an additional couple $100.
Yes.
We're going to implement yoga into our like cross training and it's going to be really good. And everyone was like, how is this beneficial? Like there's
Mind you, this is not like a D1 program where you need to bring in the supplemental training.
no.
There's so much to this little moment.
Yes.
And the fact that you're working with minor children and this person has not interviewed, this person has
not
no
hired by
background
the
check.
district.
There's no formality of any kind.
Nothing. Yeah.
So 10 different ways was this wrong.
So 1 hour out of our like 3-hour practice during the summer, we would be doing yoga. And it wasn't really yoga. It was literally us just like dicking around on the field because this lady had no idea what she was telling us to do. Like maybe we were just doing the butterfly stretch for like 50 minutes. I don't know. Like it literally was not yoga because I remember sitting there and I even asked once, like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't coming from a place of being rude. It was just like,
Literally, what are we
I've only been playing with the girls now for a year. Like, I don't know. Is this normal? Like, I have seen great athletes and great teams perform, and never once have we tried implementing yoga.
No,
like
actually,
jujitsu, yeah.
was the usual go-to, just because of the holds underwater. And
But I'm like,
yoga is not going to help you in this.
So the whole summer camp was just so unorganized, like most of his practices, and it stems from a place of him having no idea what he was doing.
No.
And so we would do this quote unquote yoga for like an hour, and we would get back and literally just like he would throw his dog in the water. We would just swim, dude. Like it was so messy.
You'd babysit.
Yeah. The girlfriend also had a daughter who, when she wasn't there, he would bring the daughter and we would like take turns watching her and then be rewarded for watching her. Or be like threatened if we didn't, being like, oh, well, you'll have a swim set. Or it was always a swim set.
Like,
that is like such a threat for water polo athletes. But
like, we're
like
paying for you to be there. So for you to
two-year-old
babysit is crazy.
and he wanted us to like take her in the water. And we're like, I remember even at the time being like, this is such a liability. Like,
yeah.
if something happens to this little girl, one, we're going to get in so much trouble. And two, this is going to live with us for the rest of our lives. By the end of the summer camp, he's like making, and this is something he also did a lot, and it is part of his grooming.
Okay.
He made lots of empty promises. For example, I remember he huddled us all in the team room, and we're sitting there, and he's telling us, like, swearing up and down how Lululemon is going to sponsor our public high school team. Mind you, they don't do that. Second of all, we weren't this, like, nationally recognized water polo team. Water polo, like, is just now getting the recognition it deserves.
Yeah, but this team in particular, on the girls' side especially, like, there's no one coming up to, like, an Olympic, like, none of this is happening.
And I remember I remember coming home and being like, oh my gosh, like, I don't have Lululemon, like, this is so exciting. Like, and my parents are looking at me like, what are you, like, they don't do this. And it took one Google search to realize that they don't do this. So I'm like, okay, maybe he has some sort of hookup. Because why would I not want to believe that? And that is, I mean, he, like, said that with Hurley too. I remember, like, it was so shady. But at the time, I did not realize it was shady.
No, he's telling a bunch of very, I don't want to say, like,
his like point of view
impressionable,
was always,
vulnerable girls. And this is where, like you said, the grooming, a lot of the grooming
he's always like,
started.
here's what I can do for you. Like, oh, you just give me the time of day. Like, and it was always transactional.
It was always transactional. But the girl, I mean, early on, I feel like he had the girls pretty hooked, like, and I'll circle back to this because it was my sophomore year when the then seniors at the time were dealing with his empty promises of the things that he could not follow through with. But so we're wrapping up summer camp, going into my sophomore year, and we, like, huddle in a circle. It's the last day of the summer camp, and he's asking everyone to go around sharing pretty much, like, what we gained from this camp. And I'm, like, not wanting it to get to my turn because I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna say. Like, I'm not gonna, like, everyone was already, like, stroking his ego. Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what I got. I probably would have benefited if I did a summer of junior guards instead. Like, I should not have been, like, nothing. Like, you want my honest answer? Nothing.
Nothing.
We get to this senior, and I like want to say her name so bad, but I'm not going to. We get to this senior, and she had been playing with him for a very long time, and she goes on a rant basically saying, like, oh, like, I love that the younger and underclassmen, like, get to finally see, like, how an amazing coach you are, and you're so attractive and you're so hot, and, like, everyone comes to have a crush on you. And instead of shutting it down, he's, like, just letting her ramble and go on and, like, laughing and, like, entertaining this idea of this minor talking about, like, how attractive he is. And he's like, oh my gosh, so inappropriate. He should have drawn that boundary right away. And, like, all the other girls are kind of, like, side-eyeing each other, like, what is happening? And immediately I was like, what? Like, this isn't even funny. No. Like, it's not like, oh, she's being troll, or no, it was so awkward.
What did the other girls do? I know how you
nothing.
Felt, nothing.
Everyone was honestly just so scared of him because of what he would do if you didn't, like.
He was very erratic in his mood, so I definitely remember that. So as a parent to deal with that, so I can't imagine being one of his players. Like, no. You kind of don't know what you're gonna get.
Not at all. And I just remember being, like, stunned. Like, I had no idea.
It's disgusting.
It is disgusting, especially because as I played throughout my sophomore year, I realized, like, he feeds off this idea that the younger girls, like, find him attractive.
And like, even having this conversation I don't know if majority of people even know, most water polo suits are really high cut. Yeah. They're very high cut in the back, and usually they end up your butt because that's just the nature of playing. So you guys don't pull it out 55 times. Yeah. So you're basically half naked, like,
all the time.
Because you're always unzipped too in the back. So it just, even the context of how you're having this conversation.
Yes. And it was also during my freshman year that one of the seniors had told me that they were hanging out with him. And this is, like, around the time that I start to put stuff together of, like, okay, he's not shutting down this conversation. These girls are, like, going over to his house or getting food with him.
Like at 7, 8 o'clock at night.
On, like, a Friday.
And lying to their parents about it.
Yes.
So
and I'm like, what? I was like, what the fuck? And this is where I start to be like, okay, something is seriously wrong. But it was also at this point that like I knew, and I was so set on playing water polo in college, and there was times where I was even like the Olympic development program, and I was so set on like water polo is my life now, and I
Right.
like want to go to the I was not going to just
No.
stop at like the first sign, I guess. That sounds, and that's not to discredit anybody
No.
else, or but I was just shocked, and we're going to talk about this in the next episode as well. But I just want to say, I think a lot of people think that kids burn out, and I say kids, but like young adults even
Sure.
burn out from playing sports, but it's not from playing sports. It is most often a bad experience with a coach.
I 100%
Like you
agree.
said, how kids are so impressionable. Like you're spending all this time with someone who can make or break and tear down your confidence
And your spirit. I mean,
and your
your
spirit.
actual like on a to your soul, I think.
Yeah.
And it impacts everything else you do at that, and I mean later in life, yes, but even at that age,
Yes.
how you end up hanging out with your friends, how you perform in school, how
Yeah.
you treat your parents, because you're trying to harbor all this anger and emotion, and I
Yeah.
think it comes out in 100 different ways.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, while there are programs in high school that are supposedly here to help, if you see something, say something.
Yeah.
The reality of our experience is that those programs are in place to protect the high school, not children.
Mhm.
And that you will get they will gaslight the fuck out of a child
Literally.
before they actually help a child.
Yeah, and that is more often than not, unfortunately.
It is.
And that is something that I came to realize very quickly my second year of high school. And the second year is like when shit really hit the fan, and it hit the fan very quickly. And it was not just for me, it was for a lot of other girls in this water polo program as well. And we are going to talk about it
Yes.
on the next episode.
We had to give you a little background so you kind of know,
like just
kind of leading
how-
up to
yes.
it. Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for listening to the I Did It First podcast. I'm Riley.
I'm Anna.
And we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.